Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I'd like to share with you my first attempt at restoring a vice. This is a record number 50, quite vintage, quite old, 6-inch Carpenters bench vice, and I bought this from eBay. So here's my attempt at restoring it. So I decided to have a go at restoring this old vice. I bought it cheaply from eBay this week. I started off by dismantling it. Luckily it wasn't seized up. Once the two main parts were away, I then removed the split pin and the washer. The split pin was a little tricky to get out, but I got there in the end. And I decided to use this again instead of using a new one, so I kept it aside for later on. So I started off by giving it a general brushing just to remove any loose debris. So it was then ready to go into a bucket of white vinegar or distilled vinegar, and the vinegar will just soak into it all and help the rust to be removed and fall away from the metal. I've used this method a few times now and it works pretty well at removing rust. I left it sitting for about 3 days and put a cover on it loosely, and this was the result 3 days later. I then gave all the parts a wash in some warm soapy water, and this was just to remove all of the vinegar and loose rust. I then washed it off with some cold water. And I kept the white vinegar sludgy water because this is good to use as a wood stain to age wood. I also have a video about that. I'll leave a link in the description box below. So now I wanted to buff the surface and remove all the remaining rust. I started off by applying some metal polish and just brushing it all over. At this point I could have used a paint stripper, but I didn't have any, so I decided to go straight in with the wire wheels on my drill press and start buffing all the parts. This way it was a bit more easy to do. I had two hands free. And I just used various different shapes of wire brush to get into all these awkward areas. I also buffed the runners, and then I just gave it a general wiping down with a wire brush. Just before painting, I gave it all a light sanding down, and then used some white spirit just to clean off the dust. For the finish I chose this Oxford blue. Probably not the best kind of gloss paint to use for this job, but it was all I had at the time. I added some white spirit to the paint and mixed it up, and then applied a very thin coat, and in total I applied 3 coats, applying the paint nice and thin. Here I'm just applying the final coat, and for the handle I gave it a coating of neutral shoe polish, and that is just to prevent it from rusting in the future. Now it's time to get it all back together. I started off by adding a little bit of WD-40 to the runners. I then added some grease to the thread of the handle. And then added the washer and the split pin. I added a little more WD-40 before attaching the runners and the thread of the handle. and that allowed it to go on nice and smoothly. I then just gave it all a general wiping down. And that was the vise finished. So in a future video I will be adding some jaws to this vise and installing it. So that's about it for this video. I was really pleased with how the vise turned out in the end. This is the first time that I've ever restored a vise, and it looks a lot better than it did when I received it. So I'm pleased with the outcome. So if you found this video useful, please remember to like and also consider subscribing for more DIY related videos. If you have any comments about this or suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.